Word to your mother. It is I, the Great One himself, founder of the Cynical Libertarian Society, hanging out here with an anarchy moment. I just rolled out of bed, got out of bed, holy shit, it's already 6:30 in the morning. Got out of bed a little late, got a lot of stuff to do today. Waiting for the computer to do a check disk, because sometimes you just have to do that stuff. Drinking my first cup of coffee. Wanted to talk to you guys about a little anarchy moment I had. So I'm with a group of people. Hold on, I'll talk any moment now. Another drink of coffee might help. I'm with a group of people I work with. And we're talking about something, whatever, I don't even know what we're talking about. And somewhere, just kind of out of the blue, because we weren't talking about politics or anarchy or anything else. So out of the blue, one of the guys says, well, hey, since you're an anarchist, that means I could, beat you up and take all your stuff, right? And I said something to the effect of, yeah, sure, if you can do that, you go for it. But it just... it fascinates me the way... and I understand a lot of this is because the stupid people don't know what anarchy is, right? They don't... I mean, we live in a world where we're surrounded by information, everybody has Google, everybody thinks they're intelligent, yet nobody actually knows what the fuck words mean. They just use them with these weird notions that they get from watching television, right? It's... like an example of this is I remember back when Satanism was a big thing. By big thing, I mean it was appearing in media. The Anton LaVey's daughters were on Phil Donahue's show. I remember that very distinctly. Things like that. And so people would talk about Satanist this, Satanist that. You know, and I'm always like, wait, are you talking about real Satanists who follow the teachings of the Satanic Bible and Anton LaVey? Or are you talking about Satanist meaning unhappy upper middle class white kids who wear black clothes and torture animals because they've had bad parenting? And it's the same thing with anarchy and anarchist. People don't have any grasp of what anarchy actually is, but they have these weird notions of what anarchy is from watching movies. But here's what fascinates me, because this is one of the places where I feel like I disagree with a lot of people who are anarchist. And at the same time, I don't. This is one of the parts of the world where I'm really conflicted about. And so let me try to explain and build into this. When people encounter anarchist, right, where did they always go to something like this? They always say something like, oh, so I can kick your ass and take your stuff. And the concept of anarchy, of voluntarism, of agorism, of libertarianism is that if you just leave people alone, people are going to leave you alone, right? That people are social animals, we just want to live together, that the people who are violent criminals are not the normal, that the people who are violent criminals are the abnormal, that most people do not need the government to make laws regulating how they behave with other people, because as well-adjusted human beings, we can all interact socially with each other. And I think that's a great theory, but I think there's a couple of problems with that. The first problem is that, of course, our society teaches people violence. Our society raises people to be violent. Our society does not want, by our society I mean the state. That's a better way to say it. The state, which controls the way our society is organized. The state doesn't want people to get along. As I've said before, the state needs murderers. The state needs people to go in schools and shoot children. The state needs rapists, right? You rape women, you turn women into victims. That is how you make money, by putting the rapist through a trial, by putting the rapist in a prison. All the people in the prison industrial complex make money. By raping women, the women need to go to therapy. That's how the therapy complex, industrial complex, makes money, right? I mean, you need to have violent people in order to perpetuate the state. You have to have murder, you have to have rape, you have to have child molesting, you have to have child pornography, you have to have arson. You have to have these things for the state to survive, because if these things don't exist, it would quickly become clear that we don't need a state. And so the state constantly pushes everybody to utilize violence and aggression as the first and only resort. And so as a result, whenever the average stupid person encounters anarchy, their first response is, oh, you don't believe in the government, therefore it's it's okay for me to do violence against you and take your things. And so while on one hand, I'd love to believe that if there were no state, everybody could get along great. And my voice is going because it's 6:30 in the morning. And I haven't had enough coffee yet. It sounds like I'm crying, probably, but I'm not crying. I'm just, my voice is dying. This is why in theater we do vocal warm-ups. This is why we don't get up at 6:30 in the morning and start a production. Because our voices aren't ready. Okay. So as much as I'd love to believe that if the state vanished tomorrow, everybody would be able to get along, the fact is they wouldn't, because so many people have been conditioned by the state to believe in violence, to believe, you're an anarchist, I can beat you up and take your things. And so when I hear other anarchists saying, well, one day we're going to have a stateless society, because one day that's what people are going to want. Namely, I'm talking about Ben Stone. I love Ben Stone. Ben Stone is the best. But he always says that when the day comes that people want a free society, the market will provide them with a free society. I mean, I do think he's right in theory about that. The problem is I don't think he's right in practicality, because I don't think the day that people want freedom is ever going to come. Because people like this, when they encounter someone who believes in freedom, their first response is to do violence to those people. And like I said, I understand it's because of the indoctrination they've gotten from schools, from society, from the television, yada, 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 all from, coming from the state for all the reasons I've talked about. I understand that. But just because I can identify the source doesn't mean I can identify a cure. It doesn't even mean there is a cure, okay? These people, these hardcore statists. I saw this video on YouTube a couple of days ago. Basically, it was, what was it called? How to not talk to people about anarchism or something like that. It starts off with this little girl knocking on a door. She's dressed like a Mormon missionary, and the other girl opens the door, and the girl dressed as a Mormon missionary holds up a book about Hayek and says, "Have you read the book of Hayek?" And so this funny video about how not to, and showed them like making fun of people for being statist and all this other stuff. And I get that, but at the same time, I really believe that if, to an extent though, I think we as anarchists, we do need to treat statists this way. Think about it. If somebody came in the room and said, yeah, I'm a pedophile, and last night I kidnapped 3 8-year-old boys, and then I made a film of me fucking them in the ass with various instruments, and then I slit their throats and drank their blood, and I put that on the internet. Right? How would you treat this person? And yet, when you meet a statist who's like, yeah, I support Obama, he's great, he's murdering people in foreign countries with flying robots, he has the least transparent administration ever, Guantanamo Bay is still open, war on drugs is continuing, he wiretapped the entire nation, the government is great, the government put Japanese people in concentration camps, the government did the Tuskegee experiment, the government experimented with LSD and radiation on American troops, the government is involved in the longest war in history, 10 years in Afghanistan, right? We just put Bradley Manning in prison for 25 years, 35 years, whatever it is. I'm not that up on it, right? I think all of these things are wonderful. Oh, and you're an anarchist? That means I can beat you up and take your stuff away from you, right? We need to respond to that person the same way we respond to the pedophile, with disgust. Because when you sit there and you pretend that it's okay to do the things that statists do and to believe the things that statists believe, and I'm not saying, if you're not shooting every statist in the head with a deer rifle, you're part of the problem. Okay, I'm not going to go that far, but you can look at these people, and when they say things like, yeah, I support Obama, you can look them in the eye and say, so you support murdering 16-year-old kids with flying robots. You're kind of a sick fucker. Right? I mean, okay, if these people are your close friends and family, then they need to work through that. If they're not, don't be afraid of ostracizing them. Don't be afraid of them, hating you and never speaking to you again. Maybe that's just me, because I'm still on a quest to eliminate statists from my life, because I really fucking hate them. Because they murder people, and they support the murder of other people, and they're sick fucks. And they believe that if you don't support Obama and the federal government, that they can beat you up and take your stuff. And that's the thing, they have no problem saying it to your face. Remember, these statists are people who will happily tell you to your face that you should be beat up, that you should have your stuff taken from you, that you should be put in a cage, as Stefan Molyneux would call it, a rape cage. Prison, right? Where they put you in the cage, you get raped by other guys. They will tell you to your face you should be put in a rape cage. Don't be afraid to tell them to their face that they're pieces of shit, that they have no moral compass, that they've been brainwashed and fucked up, and that in order for the world to ever be a peaceful place, people like them are going to have to die. Because we're never going to have an anarchist civilization. We're never going to have a free civilization. We're never going to have a free society. We are never going to have a society that is free of the state until those people are eliminated from that society. And by eliminated, I mean it could be we eliminate them by putting them in concentration camps and killing them. We can eliminate them by buying them airplane tickets to France. We can eliminate them by taking over a free state project, and kicking them out. We can eliminate them by the anarchists go out and live on the ocean. We can eliminate them by the anarchists go out and live in Antarctica. Whatever it is. But the point is, as long as these people who are statists are amongst those of us who are anarchists, we will never be able to have an anarchist society. And the statist here in the United States, and this, what was it I saw a good one lately, damn it, I think it was the legal fiction known as the United States. Here in the legal fiction known as the United States, as long as we have statists, there's not going to be some critical mass of anarchists where, suddenly the 51% of anarchists are going to get their way and the 49% of statists are just going to hang with it. I mean, the statist, even when there's only one statist left, that statist will always look for another sociopath that he can elect and give the power to kill other people to that sociopath, to kill for him. This is another reason I hate statists. Because statists always try to act like they're all into peace and shit, after of course saying, oh, you're an anarchist, I can beat you up and take your stuff. I love how anarchist... the theater production I'm working on right now, there's a gun that fires off stage. We're using a starter pistol for it. I have to fire the starter pistol. All of these left-wingers that I fucking do theater with are so terrified. I mean, some of them can't even say the word gun. They have to spell it out, the G-U-N. I mean, these people, these left-wing statists, not right-wing statists, God forbid, but left-wing statists, are so fucking terrified of guns. And yet, they love it when the government kills for them. They love it when the police shoot down somebody. They love it when Obama kills someone with a flying robot, right? They have no moral compass. None of them do. But at least the right-wing statists have a moral compass. That it's pointing in the wrong direction, but they got one. The left-wing statists have no moral compass whatsoever. They're terrified of firearms, but they want Messiah, Hussein Obama, to kill for them. I'm not sure how I got there from here, honestly. I don't know what the fuck that had to do. It's my train of thought derailed. But it's just a fact, okay? It is a fucking fact. I'm going to be out of the loop for a little while. If you're hearing this, this is probably the last Anarchy moment, stating the obvious cult of personality you're going to hear for a while. It could happen. I'm going to record some this weekend. It's Friday today, August the something, I don't know, 2013. Anyway, I'm going to be out and about on business. No recording time. But I just really wanted to get that little, I can beat you up and take your stuff because you're an anarchist moment. I just wanted to get that out into the world because it illustrates, I think, what we as anarchists are dealing with and why it does no good most of the time, not always, but most of the time, why it does no good to try to have intelligent conversations with these people about politics and philosophy, you know, in the hope, in the thought, in the idea that, oh, if I just explain anarchy to a statist, if I explain it good enough, they'll be able to understand it. They can't. They can't understand it because the only thing they understand, the only thing they know, the only thing they've been exposed to is violence, is aggression. It's the only thing they can grasp with their tiny, 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 tiny fucking little semi-simian brains.